Welcome to the Ordinary Doula Podcast with Angie Rozier, hosted by Birth Learning, where we help prepare folks for labor and birth with expertise coming from 20 years of experience in a busy doula practice, helping thousands of people prepare for labor, providing essential knowledge and tools for positive and empowering birth experiences.
Well, welcome to the Ordinary Doula Podcast. Today we have three special guests with us that we're going to introduce, and we're going to kind of talk about their story. They had everyone's story is pretty awesome, actually, but they had an interesting story that had some twists and turns in it, and so we're going to kind of discuss their story with them. So I have with me today Andrea and Joakim and their little guy Magnus. So you might hear our cute little youngest guest here, I wish you could see him. He's adorable. Andrea and Joakim had a baby in June, and their baby was due in July. And so this baby's we're almost 6 months old now. So Andrea and Joakim, if you want to give a little introduction about yourself and then kind of tell us about your story.
Yeah, I'm Andrea, mom of Magnus, and Joakim's here.
Yeah, hi, I'm Joakim.
And this is your first baby, right? We're having a first baby.
Yeah, this is our first baby.
First baby. Yeah, we're both from Utah, so we kind of have pretty traditional, upbringing here, Mormon backgrounds and so on and so forth.
Cool.
Yeah, I was due on July 27th, and I was planning a birthing center birth. We'd done a bunch of birthing classes and done a ton of things to prepare my body and our minds and everything for a natural birth. And in the spring, I started to get kind of higher blood pressure readings. And so they put me on a watch, and my midwife team said that they would have to transfer care if they got too high. And that happened in June. On June 3rd, I had a urine test come back positive for proteins for preeclampsia. And so they transferred me to care with the midwives at the U. And you can take him, stand him up or something. And
so now that's shifting to in-hospital, right? In-hospital birth? Okay.
In-hospital birth. On June 4th, I had just a follow-up appointment with the midwives at the U, assuming that I would be able to still do everything. They were just going to monitor me and put me on medication. But the midwife I went to see sent me to the emergency maternity. What is that called?
The OB emergency services.
Yeah, the OB emergency. And from there, I was admitted to the hospital. And after I was admitted, I was told that I would have to stay until he was 34 weeks, and I was 32 at the time. And that they were going to induce me at 34 weeks. And that all happened in one day.
Yeah, that's a huge shift. So you were planning it out of hospital birth, and all of a sudden you're admitted to the hospital for what they want to be the next 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yep. Big shift. Just in a couple of hours, a huge change.
Yeah. And how did that feel inside? I mean, I know it's so hard, but how does one adjust to that?
Sorry, I haven't really talked about it in a while, but it was a lot to adjust to in a really short period of time.
Yeah.
I definitely had kind of the same reaction in the hospital. I just had to take a minute to realize that this birth that I'd been planning for so long and working so hard for, and really wanting wasn't going to happen. And then also just adjusting to the environment of the hospital, which is super different. Even though everyone at the U was really great on my team. But it was hard. It was hard for the first little bit. And then I had periods during my hospitalization that were hard as well, that it would hit me, that this wasn't going the way I wanted it to. So yeah, it was not my favorite.
Yeah, it was hard.
Not my favorite thing. Yeah. And it still obviously has impacted me ongoing. Yeah. Do you have something to add?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I think everything just came at once like a ton of bricks. And, I was kind of expecting something to go kind of that route as soon as they started explaining what was going on with the preeclampsia, but I wasn't expecting necessarily for it to escalate that quickly or for a hospital stay. Of course, I didn't know what the protocol was. So I think I was just kind of having to disconnect a little bit so that I could stay sane and helpful in any way. So that's kind of what I did to kind of hold it together, I guess.
Yeah, because you had days in the hospital. How many days were you there total before induction?
12.
12.
I was there for 10 before
10.
induction and then 2 after.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. And so Magnus was born about 34 weeks. Okay. And I was there with you, and I know that part of the story, of course, but he, being a preemie at that point, we now are looking at a NICU stay, right? So let's walk through that next chapter a little bit and what that was like as he was there for a little while.
Yeah, we were told to just expect that he'd be there through his due date, which was 6 weeks, which I thought was insane because everybody I knew who had a baby in the NICU, they were told that they'd be released on their due date, but they were only there for like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Shorter.
Yeah. And so I had that expectation, and it probably made it a lot harder than it was because
hoping for him to come home early.
He was released 5 days after his due date, so we were 7 weeks in the NICU almost. So yeah.
And how big was this little guy when he was born? How much did he weigh?
He was 4 pounds.
Like 4 pounds, 12 ounces, I think.
Yeah.
Like shy under 5 pounds or so.
Yeah.
So cute.
He was little.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really little. And as soon as he was born, they were just, kind of saying, hurry, cut the cord, and then put him on Andrea's chest for about 2 seconds and then whisked him through the window to the NICU. So it was very, very brief and I think kind of traumatic a little bit.
Yeah.
And so in the NICU, what were his goals? What is obviously a baby that young, or what did he need to work on developmentally? Like what were they waiting for during that time he was in the NICU for him to be able to come home?
I think mostly it was just making sure that he could hold his own O2 sats okay.
Yeah.
His blood oxygen was all right, and then just being able to feed okay. So he's in the screeching phase. Yeah, he's into screeching. He sounds like a dinosaur, a baby dinosaur.
He's a cute dinosaur.
We like it. We like your vocalization.
Oh, good.
Yes.
He's supposed to be napping right now.
Yeah, he doesn't care. So as he's in the NICU, tell me a little bit about the cadence your life gets into as I know there was a lot of trips to the hospital and visiting him after you're released. Tell us a little bit about that little chapter of life.
Yeah. So I was in the hospital for just a couple days after, so that was easier. But then when I was released, I had a really hard time being separated from him.
Yeah.
And so I would go up twice a day and try and fit in work and everything in between. The U is not far from where we live. It's like 6 or 7 miles, but it takes 20-25 minutes depending on traffic. And so and then I would spend 1 or 2 hours with him. So it was a lot of time out of the day to get there, but I didn't really feel like I had a choice. I felt like I really wanted to spend as much time with him as I could.
Yeah.
He's telling you his story.
And that's his version. He's like,
Yeah, this is his version. We need an interpreter.
Do you want us to move him so he's not?
No, he's so
Okay.
fine. It's great.
Okay.
Love
Magnus.
that he's here.
You can add your own baby sound effects, lady.
Yeah. It's all part of the story.
Okay.
But what else was I gonna say? Oh, they have care times, specific care times that they asked you to come for. And so it was that was another challenge to kind of fit it all into their time structure. Like,
Right.
we could go outside of care times, but if I wanted to be there for his feeds or diaper changes or anything, we had to be there at those specific times.
Yeah.
And so everything in our life just had to fit around that.
Yeah, revolve. What were the times that you normally went?
It changed regularly too. So
10, 2, and 6 or something.
Yeah,
roughly.
Sometimes that, or it was 12, 3, and 6. They were every 3 hours, but he was moved like 8 times during his stay in the NICU, and almost every time he moved, we had new care times. So that was also hard.
Yeah, they were doing construction in the hospital at the time, and so he had to get moved around a lot.
Wow.
And also, depending on the needs of the other babies in the NICU, he was moved to a less critical area.
And his development, right? Like when he needed less care. Yeah. Okay. And how was the staff at the NICU? How was working with the staff and the people you got to know?
I mean, they were all very friendly. I think they were kind. Most of them were informative. But some of the difficulty, I think, just had to do with continuity of care, where some of the staff may have done things slightly differently, especially when he started getting some excoriations on his bottom.
Yeah.
Just how they would treat it would differ depending on who you talked to. And so it felt like there was a little bit of inconsistency. And it is a teaching hospital, so there's a lot of people that are kind of observing and in and out and involved in the care where otherwise it may not be the case.
Yeah. And tell me, like, obviously he's your baby, but living his first few weeks in the NICU, I know we had talked before a little bit about that. That was kind of a challenge too, right? Like a lot of choices are being made for you. And I remember that can be hard too.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that, I mean, in my perfect plan, I would have breastfed him from day one and not had him have any formula or anything, which is not bad. It's just what I wanted for him.
Yeah,
and
which is your goals.
Luckily, my milk came in quickly, but they had to fortify his feeds with formula, and they didn't ask us any questions about any of that. They just did what they were going to do. So the brand that they use of fortification and whatever supplements he needed, and even the diaper brand, or diaper ointments, like so many things we would have been involved in making the decision on that we weren't able to.
We weren't necessarily hypercritical of a lot of the things that they were doing, as we knew they'd be temporary, and we weren't, overly worried about. I guess, because we have more of a holistic approach to things. And so, but, given our backgrounds, I'm kind of somewhere in between on it, where I completely understand how hospitals operate and, the protocols that they follow and kind of the standards of care that they have. So, so it wasn't, so off-putting per se, but there were some aspects of it that were frustrating, probably because we'd never gone through it.
Yeah, it's all new, and it wasn't anything close to what you were hoping, right? As you
Hmm.
shifted, your plan shifted.
Right.
Tell me, like in those, he was in the NICU for 7 weeks. You got to see him a couple times a day, which was quite a sacrifice of time, of course. When you guys are at home, like how were you supporting each other during that time? Then you were like with overnights and things like, what were your particular, like Joakim might have different needs or worries than Andrea. Like, what was that time like for you guys at the home?
I think we were just so tired that we just kind of,
Yeah.
outside of taking care of normal day-to-day things for ourselves, we didn't really necessarily, I don't know, did we have any really hard time otherwise? Or was it kind of,
Well,
I mean,
I was having a hard time. I
uh,
think it was a different experience for you.
yeah, I guess it was a little bit of a different experience for me because I was still trying to manage work and
Mm-hmm.
doing everything else at home. So I was probably more absorbed in that. Of course, maybe we'll get to it later, but we had frustrations probably over just the timelines of
Mm.
when he'd be released. So I think that was our biggest point of difficulty. But I don't think that we necessarily had to. We didn't have, I guess, interpersonal problems with each other
Yeah.
because of that, or I would say our support was probably a normal baseline
Cool. Good.
in terms of supporting each other.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you say that? Or
Yeah.
you can totally throw me under the bus if you.
No, I think because it was a little different for me, um, probably just based on hormones.
Mm. Yeah.
That
And recovery, right? You were recovering from
Yeah.
childbirth too.
Yeah. So like having to get up in the night to pump so that I could have so I could send milk to the hospital and yeah, trying to recover physically, which was just yeah, it was a lot. It was nice, I guess, to not have to worry about the baby trying to recover physically, but I think it was more of a toll on my mental and emotional health
Yeah.
to be separated from him. But I feel like kind of your Joachim reaction to
Mhm.
that situation or stress in general is to just kind of work and like
Yeah,
put your head down and get other stuff done. And so for
right.
me, I was just kind of more just experiencing that part on my own,
Yeah.
which is not any fault of yours at all. It was just a difference.
Yeah.
Well, I've
You're
remarked to
having different
Andrea,
experiences. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and on that note, I've remarked to Andrea that my experience was different because in the NICU, so I usually went once a day because I had work. So I'd go after work, and my interaction with him, other than changing his diaper and doing a few things, feeding him a bottle, is pretty limited. And I don't know if other fathers experience that, or other, partners of those who have children. But if I because I had limited interaction with him, and because his ability to interact with me was limited, he was just sleeping most of the time
Right.
and not showing a lot of, what would probably be considered a lot of personality and so on and so forth. I felt like my ability to bond with him was kind of muted or delayed.
Mm-hmm.
And because I didn't, have the experience that Andrea did carrying him for almost 9 months and giving birth, um, it's just different. And I don't know if that's something that other men have in common in that experience, or if
Yeah.
I'm just weird in that way, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's totally different now that I know him and can be around him in somewhat normal circumstances. I feel like our relationship is totally different.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you're right. It's a lot about mom and baby in the hospital, right? And in the NICU, it's especially when someone's breastfeeding, we're getting a lot of mom time in the hospital, skin to skin, and the cares are more with the mom for sure, which can be kind of isolating as a dad. Like you're standing there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We're sitting there and,
Yep.
everybody's coming in doing their thing and so on.
Yeah.
And that part did kind of strain our relationship a little bit because for me, I wanted to spend as much time there as I could. And for him, he's like, I'm just watching this baby sleep. Can we go
Yeah. He's
home?
like, what are we doing
Yeah.
here?
Because
Yeah.
yeah, because I just felt like I couldn't do much
Yeah.
with him or for him at that
And then
point.
there's other pressing things in life as life, like you said, with work, like it carries on, right? Like
Mhm.
there's things that need your attention outside the hospital, obviously. Yeah, that is hard. So Andrea, tell us, like, breastfeeding wise, when did this little guy, when did he, I mean, he's a champ at it now, but how did that go in the hospital? And when was he able to, how'd the breastfeeding start with him?
We tried pretty early on, maybe like even the second day he was there, and he was not able to. But we kept trying for the first few weeks, and I don't think he even really latched really well for like, man, I don't remember the timeline. It's all a blur, but
Yeah.
I want to say it took a couple weeks. But I had to work with a lactation specialist quite a bit to help figure out how to get him to latch and to actually be drawing milk, because I would feel like he would latch and then just probably just non-nutritive sucking for a
Yeah.
lot of it. Um, and then he started kind of getting the hang of it, but then the hard part was trying to figure out how much to feed him through his NG tube,
Right.
because we weren't sure how much he was getting from the breast. And that, depending on the nurse and what part of the NICU we were in, that was a little stressful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of different opinions from
Yeah.
different people on breastfeeding and its importance and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
Yeah. And I wanted to try and breastfeed every time I got there, every time I was there, which was twice a day, but sometimes it would have started his feed without me, or sometimes it kind of felt like they were in a hurry and they didn't want to give me the time to
The
try.
time. Yeah.
But most of the time they were great though, and they knew that it was a priority and the best thing for him. So they allowed me to, but he really didn't start breastfeeding well until he had been home for a few weeks.
Okay. So even at the end of his NICU stay, he was still in the learning
Mm-hmm.
process. Okay.
Yep.
mhm.
But he's
Yeah.
doing great now, it looks like.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome, awesome. So let's talk a little bit about it's coming time, right? He's getting closer to the due date. We're looking at coming home. What was that process like?
Well, so we were in an area of the U of U hospital, if I can mention that, called the Island. It's kind of supposed to be where babies kind of go to graduate, so to speak, and then they're, released from the hospital. And so we got pretty excited that he moved into that area because they don't really have to have a lot of oversight, and there are fewer nurses and so on and so forth. But essentially what had happened was, at the end of that stay, we thought, oh, he's going to go home. And then he ended up getting moved into the maternity wing, where people recover. And I don't remember the exact department. Do you? It was like a nursery,
Yeah, it's
essentially.
just the nursery and the
I don't know if it's
postpartum wing.
the postpartum nursery. But they said, well, it's good that he's moving there because he needs less intervention. At that point, was he off the NG tube? Or he wasn't quite off the NG tube either. So he's still on a little bit of oxygen, still needed just a little bit to keep his sats up, not very much. I think it was like 0.3% room air.
Hmm.
It
Oh,
was it
nice.
was the most minimum before they, would take him off of oxygen. And he was still feeding a little bit through an NG tube. And it just felt kind of defeating because we thought, oh, he's going home. And then it's like, oh no, he's still got another section that he's just kind of waylaid to. And a bunch of babies kept coming and going as the
Yeah,
days went by. And we're like, when is he going to go? So
yeah.
we're just kind of waiting for him to get that independence off of the O2 cannula and being able to get off the NG tube. And so that's kind of what they want. They want one or the other. So it was also irritating, I think, because we constantly had rotating physicians in and out, a lot of them, doing residency or learning, and everyone kind of had a different take on where he was at and so on and so forth. So it kind of felt like a too many chefs in the kitchen scenario.
Yeah.
It was also super hard because he was like perfectly healthy.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have any like developmental issues, or he wasn't sick. There wasn't anything like really wrong with him.
Just waiting, right?
Just
Like,
waiting. And so, yeah, watching babies come and leave, and or babies that had been next to him for a while go home, was really, really hard, because like I
he
just felt
looked
like
great.
yeah, he was great, and we could
Yeah.
probably figure out how to feed him. And keep him alive on our own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just got harder and harder and harder. That last move was really, really hard for us. The environment was super different.
It's very cramped.
Yeah. The nurses, it was like he'd never spent a day in the NICU before. Like they didn't transfer. It felt like they didn't transfer any of his information over, any of his care. Like they just started fresh. And so that on top of us thinking that he was going home, and then them telling us every day that he needs to hit these milestones for his feeds and his oxygen, and every day like he got close or he'd hit them, and then the next day he would drop back down.
Yeah.
And so it was just like it just became super hard, like to deal with that mentally and emotionally.
Just felt like endless goalposts moving.
Yeah, just keep moving the finish line, right?
Right, exactly.
It's hard. Yeah, that is tough. And then feeling like parental autonomy, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not in charge, which I mean, this is our kid, this is our baby, and a lot of other decisions. And that's obviously, we're so grateful for the skills and the compassion of staff in any NICU. But yeah, once they start getting healthier and it's hard to see other policies and the protocols that they're upholding, sometimes that's difficult to understand. Like, oh, he seems fine. Like, can we, take him home?
Yeah.
You do get very ready for that, for sure.
And they did like listen to us when we said, oh, his diaper rash was improving when they were using this. And they said, we've never heard of that, but we can ask. And they got it, and
Good.
they used it, and it helped him. So they did listen to us.
Good. Because you want it to be a team approach, right? It should be obviously a team approach where you're educating. And you guys probably learned so much more. You're using different vocabulary than you have had to use before, right? And G tubes and O2 sats. And you guys learned, you had a whole education that you didn't know you wanted to have about everything he did.
I mean, even having worked in the hospital system, in Utah, I knew a lot. I knew a lot of medical terminology and so on and so forth, but there was a lot of new things that pertain to babies that I didn't know. So
it's a steep learning curve, right? At a very emotional time as well. So
it is,
yeah. And you're obviously incredibly invested in outcomes and in the patient. So couple other questions I want to explore. You mentioned, Andrea, other babies. Like, you guys were there a while. Some people are there for weeks, right? Like, some people are there for 12 weeks. Some people are there for 2 days or 2 hours. There's different stays in the NICU and for different reasons. Did you guys get to know anyone? Did you make any new friends as you, I mean, you're in a similar time of life, other people doing a similar hard thing. Did you have a chance to get to know their parents in your visits to the hospital?
We didn't really. I feel like everybody was just kind of
keeping to themselves.
Yeah.
Really?
Focused on their kid.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of surprised about. I thought, oh, I'm going to be here for 7 weeks. There's going to be people I can like commiserate with or feel supported by. But mostly people just kept to themselves, and they would pull curtains around each area.
Privacy and
So you could do skin to skin or breastfeeding or whatever. And so I feel like that kind of cut it up a little bit. So there was less opportunity for interaction. But we were there, and it's different because not everybody comes at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
And so, we did see some couples repeatedly, but we just never really got to know them.
Was one instance where I did see somebody that I'd known previously, like, 5-10 years ago, or probably before that, probably 10 years ago or longer. And I actually grew up with them in my hometown. And he was there. His wife was also, delivering a premature child with, probably worse off than we were ultimately. But that was about the only time where I, really interacted with somebody on that level, I think.
Okay.
Probably more with the staff.
Yeah.
There were some
that's
really,
our connection.
really, really kind nurses. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
And they're taking good care of him and.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. When we were moved into the island, which is like, it's still part of the NICU, but it's kind of separate. A lot of the nurses that were on my team when I was admitted to the hospital were there. And so that
Oh,
felt
good.
like a good,
Yeah, people you've
like,
seen before.
yeah, and who were invested
Yeah,
in the health of the baby and in my health. That felt like a good like connection and support
yeah.
there.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So, tell me what as he's finally being able to come home. That was probably so exciting, right? That's the day you've been waiting for, and then you get him home. What is that like to, he's 7 weeks old. You've been pumping for 7 weeks. You guys have been sleeping through the night for 7 weeks. Like bringing him home after such acute care and monitoring. What's it like to suddenly come home and have a baby with you?
It was like, wow, they let us take him home. Are you serious?
They
Like
trust us.
they trust us. Yeah, they trust us. We can do this.
And there's no beeping
And
monitors at home, right? It's quieter.
Right.
yeah, and for Andrea, I mean, you can say that you probably felt like, oh
Yeah.
gosh, I have to worry about him more now.
It was super scary.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in the NICU, I'm like, this is my baby. I shouldn't be separated from him. Let me just take him home. And then we got him home, and I was like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Is
Like,
he okay? And
yeah, I don't know how to
because
tell
you
if
guys
he's okay
probably
because
watched all his vitals and his stats for
constantly.
every day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now there's no information like that, right?
Well, sort of. We have an
We
outlet.
got an outlet,
Oh,
which
good,
helps a
good.
lot.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is like our 2 cents.
Yep.
But it wasn't just that. It's like, am I doing something that's causing him harm that I can't tell,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? Like because we weren't that involved in his care in the NICU, it was
Well,
like,
you
we know
were,
this
right? You were
baby.
very involved, but your their role is gonna obviously be different than yours. So,
Yeah, so we were kind of like their assistants. It felt
yeah,
like not.
For a time.
not
Yeah,
his
for sure.
parents. Yeah,
Yeah, and so then being all of a sudden the only person in charge and trying to figure that out was really hard. I struggled the first several nights. I'd barely slept the first night. Just like not like trying to listen to him breathe. Um, and just with all that, like, how can I be in charge of this? I don't know what I'm doing.
yeah, yeah.
But that only lasted for maybe like a week or so, and then we started to get into our rhythm.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I
So
think
probably
for my
just,
own sanity. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Go ahead. Or go ahead. You were going to say. I
I
apologize.
probably just like gaining trust in yourself
Yeah.
as parents, right? When
Yeah.
you hadn't been, the skill level of care that he needed was primarily someone else's, and now it's yours when he gets to that
Mm-hmm.
certain point. And yeah, just gaining confidence in yourself as parents, which of course you're going to be amazing at it. But yeah, watching 7 weeks, a lot of other care is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, having the trust is important, at least to me, because I just don't have the nervous system capacity to worry about all of the things that aren't there necessarily. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
all of the
All the what ifs.
potential, all the what ifs. Yeah. So I think I more, sooner than later, put a lot of trust just into the natural processes that he goes through, and that it would be okay, and that
Yeah.
I needed to intervene occasionally, rather than feeling like I had to prevent or try to preempt all of these different things.
And knowing that you have a healthy baby, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
he's gonna be fine.
Right.
You can,
Just trusting that. Yes. Assuming
yeah,
assuming the best. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Wow, that is a hard place to be. Well, as we kind of wrap up your story, I want to, you started Andrea, as you said in the beginning, like you were planning a home birth. You did a lot of cautious, careful, intentional preparation for that. Ended up in a very different place. Um, and what an incredible journey to go on, right? And not a journey you chose, not a journey you loved, and bittersweet, right? Like a lot of gratitude, a lot of mourning, a lot of being grateful for some things. Some babies, are much worse. Like you said, your friend's baby was so much worse off. But yeah, speak a little bit, if you will, as we wrap up about the bittersweetness of your journey.
You want me to go first, and then you can end?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful that he's here. Even if I would have liked it to go differently, it's also okay that it didn't, at least from my perspective. And so I'm sure that there'll be therapy bills later, but yeah, for especially Andrea, but maybe me too. But it's kind of in the rear view mirror now, and it's okay.
Yeah.
If that
Okay.
makes any sense to say it that way.
Yeah, it does.
At
I think,
least as far as I can tell. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of times after we do hard things, um, it takes some time, obviously. Sometimes like, okay, that, we did that. Maybe it was bad, but it wasn't that bad. So yeah, sometimes perspective from the rearview mirror can be very valuable.
Right.
Andrea, how about you? What's your thought as you've looked back on this journey since last 6 months, really, 6 or 7, if you look at even when you started getting high blood pressure readings?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is that I'm just grateful that I had a team of people who were watching out for my health, because if we hadn't caught it, I don't know what would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
so
that starts with your
that's
home birth midwife, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so that's kind of bittersweet to me because it's obviously not what I wanted, but I'm super grateful that like we both came out of it healthy
Yeah.
and okay. My sister had an eclamptic seizure and ended up having to have a C-section while she was unconscious and all this stuff. So I know that it could have been a lot
Mm-hmm.
worse.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. But also, I do feel like even though it was a hard transition to bring him home, I do feel like we learned a lot, kind of what we were talking about, for how to take care of him. We kind of had somebody show us for several weeks,
Yeah.
like how much he needed to eat and how to care for certain things. So I think that was
Yeah.
helpful. And I think that,
Give us more time.
yeah, we got
Yeah.
some time to adjust and learn. And yeah, so I think there was a lot of good that came out of it, even if it was almost my worst case scenario.
Yeah. 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 It's very
Yeah.
hard. Those kind of journeys aren't the ones we choose for sure. That is
Yeah.
hard. Wow. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story. I know that's a tough one as we met way last year, planning for something different. And thank you for sharing your story and letting me, last year kind of be along for part of that and witness from the sidelines of that. And what an incredible team you guys make. What an incredible couple and how resilient you are. And look at that cute little boy, like how incredibly strong and resilient he is. Like he's pretty perfect.
Mhm.
So it's interesting,
Yeah,
like
he's so
they're
cute.
worth it, right? The babies they're worth the work we put into them for sure.
For
So
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's so fun and funny and
Yeah.
cute and
he's
has so much personality.
Yeah.
so
We had
cute.
no idea what it would feel like to be parents, but I've never loved anything more in my whole life.
So,
It's true.
Yeah.
It's a big kind of love for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Cool.
And he's
Well,
doing really well. He's like hitting all of his milestones,
good.
I think,
Good.
before his gestational age. So I
Very
think he's
cool.
really,
So for adjusted age, he's like above average. That's
I think
awesome.
he's the head. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's doing
very
great.
cool. I'm not surprised. Very
Yeah.
cool.
yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, hey, thanks for being with us today and sharing your story. And we want to just wrap up this episode of the Ordinary Doula podcast with our challenge and our as we always say, please make a human connection. Go out and make a human connection today to help the life of someone else, and you'll lift yourself as well. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Angie.
Thank you for listening to the Ordinary Doula podcast with Angie Rozier, hosted by Birth Learning. Episode credits will be in the show notes. Tune in next time as we continue to explore the many aspects of giving birth.